Module 3, problem number 8. It says determine the t-value in each of the cases. Click on the icon here to view the table of areas under the t-distribution. If you click here, it opens the table. You can pop it out to open it in a bigger table, however you want to do it. I already opened it over here. Remember, I've showed that link a couple times. If you go to Learning Modules, My Stat Lab, Tools for Success, and then go to Appendices and then Appendix A, it brings up this appendix. It used to be in the old, more traditional ebook or book, like in the back. The old math books had the appendices in the back. So that's where this came from. So I like to keep it open when I'm working these types of problems, just because it's easier than trying to click open the table. Anyway, I want to make sure you guys know how to do this both with using the table and using StatCrunch. Just to get familiar with the table real quick, here's an example, or here's what the t-distribution looks like. Notice here's your critical t-value, and this table gives the areas to the right of that t-value. So these areas across the top that you see here, 0.25 and all the way down to 0.0005, that's that area that's shaded in green. Now I want to make sure to point out, when we were doing the standard normal distribution, I'm going to scroll up to that table. You notice here we were looking at this critical z-value, and the areas in here represented that shaded area to the left, the area to the left of that critical z-value. So this one's different. It's important to know what those areas we're getting out represent so that we can understand the problems better. So here in this one, these headers across the top, those are the area. Here's your degrees of freedom over here. And then inside here, those are your t-values. So for example, if I had 6 degrees of freedom and I had wanted that area of 0.05, if I went to 1.943 for t, that would give me an area of 0.05. All right, so let's go look at our problem. We have find the t-value such that the area to the right of the tail is 0.25 with 16 degrees of freedom. All right, here's our 16 degrees of freedom, and we need to go over to 0.25. Well, that's the very first one, so that's actually handy. So here again, the area to the right is 0.25, and we're at 16 degrees of freedom. So that gives us a t-value of 0.690. Let's go ahead and plug that in. 0.690. Check answer. Fantastic. Just to show you really quick how we would do that in StatCrunch, again, I already opened it over here. You're going to go to Stat, Calculators, and go down to T. So here it brings up this pretty little graph calculator. And again, this is a standard, and we want to change this to greater than because that's what we're looking at. Right here it says right of the tail. So see how that red part's to the right? If we have this as less than or equal to, it's giving us that area to the left of a t-value. So we need to make sure it's saying it's greater than or equal to. And let's just do this part A again to make sure we get the same answer. So here we're given 16 degrees of freedom, and we want to find the value that corresponds to that 0.25 area. So we click compute and gives us that 0.690, which we found in the table. So you see, you can do it with a table or you can do it using StatCrunch. You're going to get the same answer as long as you're doing it correctly. I do want to make sure you guys understand how the table works, because that way you can visualize what side of the t-value or z-value or whatever we're looking at. You need to understand what's going on there. So for part B, we have find the t-value such that the area in the right tail is 0.10. Again, it still says right tail. That means we're going to leave this as greater than or equal to, but now we're looking at an area of 0.10 and 19 degrees of freedom. So let's click compute, see how easy that is. Let's make sure that answer is correct. So we were given 1.328 when we round up. See that 7 rounds up to an 8 because it's a 7 behind it. Let's check our answer. Good job. Again, let's just go double check in the table. So let's remember 19 degrees of freedom and 0.1 area. So we go to 19 degrees of freedom and go over to 0.1, and that gives us 1. Am I in the right thing? 0.1, 1.328, which is exactly what we got, 1.328. Perfect. All right, part C, find the t-value such that the area to the left of the t-value is 0.01. Now we see a difference here. We have area left of the t-value is 0.01 with 6 degrees of freedom. Hint, use symmetry. That's a good hint. Remember, our t-value here is centered at 0. So when it's centered at 0, if we can find the area to the right that's 0.01, that means that we just have to switch it to negative to find that value that's to the left of it is 0.01. So let's go ahead and do it here to see how we would use this in StatCrunch. In StatCrunch, we would switch this around to less than See how now it shades that area to the left. We want to find where the area is 0.01, and we are given 6 degrees of freedom. That gives us a value of negative 3.143 when we round that 2 up. So let's plug that in, make sure that's correct. 43, check answer, nice work. Now let's see how we could do that in the table. So what did we have? 6 degrees of freedom, and we are looking for 0.01. So let's go across to 0.01. That's positive 3.143. So that means if we were over here at 3.143, that area down here would be 0.01. Since it's symmetric around 0, we can then just say that that area to the left of negative 3.143 would also be 0.01. Okay? So that's how you could do it with the table if you didn't use StatCrunch. All right, now let's look. Find the critical t-value that corresponds to 0.96% confidence. So now we're not looking at the area of left to the right. We're looking for that area in the middle because now we're talking about a confidence interval. So let's say in between, and we're given, assume 27 degrees of freedom, so 27, and we're looking for 96% confidence. That's 0.96. So we would click compute, and look, it gives us, again, symmetric numbers. It's going to be negative on this side and positive on this side. So we can just say, we say that critical value is 2.158 when we round up. Check answer. Nice work. Let's again double check that over here. We have 27. 27. What do we say? 96%. So that means we want 0.03 on either side. So we don't have that exactly, but we can kind of see where it's at. So 0.03 would be right around here, but a little bit on this side, right? So we're looking at 2.052, which is very close to that. So that tells us that we're in the right area using the table. Again, you can see how using StatCrunch is much quicker. It is easier. I do recommend using, especially because this is a very time-intensive class, and anytime you can use a tool that helps you get it done a little quicker and with a little less room for error, I highly recommend. But I do think it's extremely important that you all understand what's going on behind the software and you understand what these tables mean. So I hope this helps anyone that had a problem with number 8. If you have any questions, let me know.